nutrition, that'll really set the course for moderating the population growth between 2050 and 2100. But it's really a virtuous cycle, letting women have reproductive health tools that they want, educating girls, raising agricultural productivity, getting these malnutrition interventions on a much greater scale than we have today. Those are the things you would want to do anyway. It turns out that by doing those well, you also set the population growth rate coming down quite a bit. And so it just makes it that much more imperative that we invest in the human capital now, and so that the challenge of what under any scenario will be fairly high population growth, that you're able to benefit from all those young people making a big contribution to their country.
So is the fact that Africa has such a high proportion of youth population and within the context of this predicted growth, is that something that you think is a sort of optimistic statistic? I mean, is it a good thing that there's an opportunity here to sort of harness the power of those young people?
It's both an opportunity and a challenge, because the capacity to run the health systems well, to get the education system to have not only high attendance, but good learning outcomes as well. That's not going to be easy. If we don't make these investments, that youth bulge, will be a huge challenge, because they won't have the development, they won't have the economic opportunity that they deserve. So it's potentially an asset, but if we don't invest right, it could even be a liability.
Let's talk about digital technology for a minute. We know that more people than ever before are connected, more people than ever before have bank accounts. Those are both positives. But what would you say are the biggest opportunities in digital technology in terms of fighting poverty and disease?
Yeah, digital innovation is really pervasive. And so whether it's tracking, do you have the vaccines out where they should be, getting feedback from citizens, is the teacher showing up and doing a good job. Digital systems let you achieve a higher quality and really assure, whether it's the domestic taxpayers or the donors, that their money's going to the right things in a way that without digital we couldn't do.
I just want to turn back to the U.S. for a minute. Under the current U.S. administration, under President Donald Trump, there's been a lot of threats to cutting the foreign aid budget and even withholding funding from UN agencies. Is it damaging, that kind of rhetoric that exists right now?
Well, certainly, if countries turn inwards and they're not thinking about the long term and this challenge of helping Africa develop in a very stable, self-sufficient way. If you think that helping other countries over time is not beneficial, then that's going to be turning back on this model of helping out the poorest. And so when those recommendations in the U.S. to cut the foreign aid budget that came out of the executive branch were put forward, we certainly, our foundation was talking with Congress about what we've seen, that foreign aid is working super well, whether it's malaria, HIV, and so many different areas. And it was very pleasing that the Congress, on a very bipartisan basis, chose to maintain these commitments that are so critical. So foreign aid has stayed flat. Ideally it would be going up. But in the face of some of this turning inwards, the fact that the European countries have remained generous and the U.S. levels are steady, that is a good thing. We just have to continue to make sure it's spent as best we can.
Okay, and one final question for you. There's a question in the report that really stood out to me, which is, it asks, is extreme poverty inevitable? Could you summarize what it will take to ensure that poverty is not inevitable?
We know what works. Human capital, agricultural sector, taking advantage of innovation, whether that's new seeds, new vaccines, or the digital platform. It's clear if we make the right investments to help these countries, they can get virtually all their systems